I didn't win the lottery. I didn't go viral on social media, and I definitely didn't work 80-hour weeks to escape the 9-to-5 grind. And yet I was able to go from $60,000 a year in a dead-end job I hated to a 7-figure company by the age of 33. And that's because I discovered these 5 rules the wealthy know that no one else follows. And so if you want to build real, lasting financial freedom without burning yourself into the ground, which is what this channel is all about, I'm going to teach you exactly what you need to know. And to understand rule number 1, I really want to tell you a story about a man. And see, this man in the story is standing at the edge of a deep canyon. And across the way on the other side, he sees everything he's ever wanted. Purpose, freedom, control of his time, a life where he calls the shots. And it's not just a dream, it's his dream. And he's known for his entire life that he's meant to reach it. But in front of him is a long, narrow rope bridge, suspended high in the air, swaying in the wind. And here's the real problem. The whole thing is covered in dense fog. He can't see the end. He can't even see the next step in front of him. He can only see 6 inches ahead. Only the first 2 planks of this wooden rope bridge in front of him are actually visible. And so everything else is clouded in uncertainty, risk, and danger. And so he's saying to himself, I'm just gonna wait until the fog clears. I need to see the whole path before I can move across this bridge. So he folds his arms, he stands still, he waits for the fog to clear, and then hours pass by. And days, and the fog never lifts. Until eventually, someone walks up behind him, same bridge, same fog, and this person's not hesitating. They put one foot on the first plank, then the other, and they just start walking right in front of him. Step by step, they're moving slowly, but they're moving forward, surrounded by all of this fog. And here's the crazy part. With each step that they take, the bridge before them, the next 6 inches, becomes clear. But not before, not from where they were standing on the sidelines. Only after they move do the next 6 inches become clear. Only after they move did the path before them become visible because they chose to walk it. Meanwhile, the first man is still standing on the edge, still waiting for clarity, still watching someone else reach the life that he wanted simply because they moved when he didn't. And see, that is the trap that so many people fall into. We wait for the plan to be perfect. We wait for the fear to disappear. We wait to feel 100% ready before we act. And here's the truth. The bridge only becomes clearer for the ones who are willing to walk. Clarity doesn't come before the next step. It comes because of it. And so if you're sitting on the edge of your dream right now, waiting to feel ready before you move, let this be your wake-up call today. You don't need a map. What do you need? Momentum. Because the people who win are not the ones who waited. They're the ones who walked through the fog anyway. And so what's the takeaway in all this? Sometimes we don't get to know what we're supposed to do next until we do what we're supposed to be doing now. And this first rule sets the foundation for everything that comes later. You see, most people dream of financial freedom, being their own boss, calling their shots, living life on their terms, but no one tells you that the path to financial freedom doesn't come with instructions. That's exactly why most people fall into the trap that kills their momentum called the waiting game. We wait to quit the 9-to-5 job that robs us of our time and our flexibility. We wait for the fear to go away before we start our first business. We wait for something uncomfortable to magically feel comfortable. And because as adults, we've bought into this lie that all of our decisions should feel good, and that if something feels scary or hard or uncomfortable, it must just mean not yet. But discomfort isn't a sign to stop. Even though your brain is wired to literally avoid discomfort, it's really a sign that you are in the right place. And so if you want true financial freedom, you have to learn to train yourself to act when things don't feel good, when there's no certainty, no clarity, and no one telling you exactly what to do. And back when I first started my online coaching business, I felt like I was navigating this huge forest in total darkness. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing or where I was going. I just leaned into the discomfort over and over and over again, because that's exactly what this is. It's a skill. It's committing to that skill. And so if you wait for confidence to show up, you are going to miss the bus called calling. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a byproduct of taking bold and imperfect action over and over and over again, making decisions without a boss, taking action when you don't feel ready, and doing the hard thing even when your brain is screaming at you, run. And see, that's what separates people who grow and make their dreams of financial freedom a reality from those who stay stuck in the waiting game forever. And so I just want to encourage you today that you have total control over that. So quit the waiting game. This is the first step towards financial freedom, because action creates momentum and momentum creates wealth. But you've probably now been wondering, okay, Valerie, what do I actually need to do to start building financial freedom? Which brings me to my second rule. If you really want financial freedom, you need to stop saying yes to the paycheck. What do I mean by that? Well, being addicted to a paycheck is kind of like planting crops in someone else's field. You do all of the work, tend the soil, water the seeds, but when the harvest comes, you only get the scraps. The landowner keeps the rest. Meanwhile, entrepreneurs plant their own seeds, and they get to choose how big the harvest gets. And listen, I get it. This goes against literally everything we've been taught about financial stability. Because what have we been told our whole entire lives? That getting a 9-to-5 job is the destination. It's smart, it's stable, it's the responsible path, right? But here's the reality for so many people who are called to be entrepreneurs. A paycheck is just hush money they give you to forget about your dreams. Saying yes to a paycheck is like being a worker bee, tirelessly building the hive and gathering the nectar for a queen bee that isn't you. And so you trade your time for a fixed amount of honey. And if you want more, you have to work longer hours or hope for a raise or a promotion, which oftentimes doesn't even happen. And you're always working on someone else's schedule, and your income depends on the hive's survival. If the queen decides that you're no longer needed, your honey dries up. The stability of a 9-to-5 job, the predictability of the schedule, and the steady paycheck is just all one big illusion, a comfortable trap for the worker bee. And we've all been conditioned to believe that the only way to earn money and become financially free is to work for someone else and accept regular paychecks, manage our expenses by living well below our means, and automating our investments so that by the time we retire, compound interest has done everything it needs to do. But what if this is the slow way and it's not even guaranteed? The reality is, thanks to inflation, that $1 million that you're aiming for is not even going to be worth what $500 does today. So what am I saying here? Am I saying you should quit your job and you shouldn't have jobs today? No, I'm saying be careful not to fall for the illusion of a false sense of security from a paycheck. Be careful about relying on the comfort of a paycheck, relying on someone else's beehive, and start cultivating your own. You want to focus on creating something of your own that is scalable, where you don't trade your time for money, and where there's no cap on how much you can potentially earn. And so I'm not talking about driving for Uber after work or freelancing on Fiverr, which might give you cash in the short term, but you're still just trading hours for dollars, trading your time for money, and really just draining your time and staying stuck in the rat race. So instead, I'm talking about building something once that can pay you over and over and over again. Because that's the difference between earning money and creating real freedom. Like building software, selling an online course, or growing a YouTube channel, or online coaching, which is exactly what I do. Let me tell you about the moment when this rule became absolutely crystal clear to me. I was sitting in a staff meeting at my old job, and I remember the fluorescent lights buzzing, the same still coffee in the back. We were in the middle of a meeting, we were discussing the next quarter for the next goals and the goals for the next quarter. And suddenly it hit me like a brick. None of these goals are mine. I was helping someone else build their dream while mine was collecting dust. And that night I went home and I opened my laptop and I started just Googling how to start an online business. I had no plan, I had no audience, I had no clue for what I was even doing. I just had this growing fire in my gut that was whispering to me, this can't be it for us. There has to be more than this. And so over the next few months, I remember working on my offer, building my first offer. I remember getting on a Zoom, and I remember the feeling of having that like shaky voice and my heart pounding and doing a bunch of things that were actually terrifying. But I remember that call just changed everything for me, because for the first time I realized I didn't need permission to be paid for my value. I just needed a process. And really, that's exactly what I teach now inside the Online Coach Intensive, a step-by-step method to package your expertise and create an irresistible offer and start earning from your value instead of your time. Listen, if you're like I was, stuck in a job that drains you and you know you are meant for more, that's where your new freedom begins. And if you want help creating your offer, I literally walk you through it together in a 5-day offer week challenge. We build it out together. I'll drop the link for that in the description down below if you want to check it out. So what is the point of rule number 2? As an entrepreneur working for yourself, you stop thinking like the worker bee and you start leading like a queen bee, owning the process, creating future income by taking control of your time, your wealth, and your freedom. And so you don't want to fall into this trap of trying to build too many hives all at once, which brings me to rule number 3. The thing is, most people are drowning in a sea of goals. They're building a personal brand in the age of AI. They're scaling 10 different side hustles. They're growing a following on TikTok, crushing it at work, trying to stay fit, be a great partner, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But let me tell you this. You can do anything, but you absolutely cannot do everything at the same time. True success isn't about frantically doing more. It's about doing less, but doing it infinitely better. And this isn't about laziness at all. It's about being strategic. This idea of essentialism is all about choosing one core thing that will most significantly move your needle toward your financial freedom, and then being laser focused and all in on that one thing only. Think about it like this. Would you rather spend your energy digging 10 shallow holes and never quite getting anywhere, or focus all of your effort on one deep hole that finally hits gold? See, most people jump from one exciting new side hustle or business idea to the next, to the next. The moment that immediate results don't show up, they start dabbling and they rarely commit deeply enough to actually get to the other side and see true breakthrough. But let me tell you, wealth doesn't come from starting, it comes from finishing. And as Steve Jobs said, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. And so to achieve financial freedom, your mantra must be do less, but do it with fierce intention and commitment. Which brings me to rule number 4. Let's now talk about one action we've been told to do relentlessly, yet rarely, if ever, taught to do effectively. I'm sure you all know that real wealth and financial freedom isn't built alone. And I'm sure you've also heard the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Everyone tells you to go and network and meet new people and attend lots of different events and shake hands and build lasting connections. Most people think that networking is about collecting contacts, but really for them, it's about collecting favors. They show up with an agenda, trying to get something from someone who hasn't even asked what they need. That's not networking. That's transactional begging dressed up in small talk, and it pushes people away. But the richest people I know don't network. In fact, they do the opposite. I call reverse networking, or what I like to call it, anti-networking. Anti-networking is the art of leading with service, not self-interest. It's showing up asking, what can I give instead of what can I get? It's making others feel seen, supported, and served with zero strings attached. That energy builds trust, and trust attracts opportunity. And when you do that consistently, the right people can't help but be drawn to you because you become valuable, not because of who you know, but because of who you are. And you see, most people show up to conversations thinking, what can I get out of this? Or how will this benefit me? Maybe you want insider details on a new job opportunity or a VIP invite to an even bigger event with even more people to connect with. But the truth is, successful people you look up to are bombarded with these types of conversations every single day. That's why they ignore most people, because they're immune to it at this point. But what really cuts through all the noise is being valuable without expecting anything in return. You want to be the lighthouse, not the tugboat. While the tugboat frantically pulls people to safety, burning itself out, the lighthouse stands still and ships come to it for guidance. That's what anti-networking is all about. In fact, I'll never forget the time I got invited to speak at a high-level mastermind way before I ever felt ready or qualified to do it. It wasn't because I had a massive audience. It wasn't because I knew the right people. It was because I had spent months helping others in that community, answering questions, sharing resources, giving feedback without ever asking for anything in return. And at the time, I didn't even realize I was networking. I was just obsessed with helping people grow their businesses because I genuinely loved it. And one day I got a DM from an organizer and it said, "Hey, I've been watching the way you show up. Want to come speak at our next event?" And I can tell you stories like this over and over and over again that's happened for my clients. And so this message, that one message, opened up doors of collaboration, clients, connections that I never could have reached by trying to traditionally network in that traditional way. I didn't pitch myself, I didn't beg for a spot, I just showed up with value and the room eventually opened. That's what anti-networking is all about. You don't chase relationships, you become someone worth knowing. Not only does it enhance your reputation and build leadership skills for yourself, but the best part about anti-networking is that when you help people with zero expectations, it triggers what's called the reciprocity principle. This is the psychological urge that we all as human beings have this, to return the favor. And this builds trust, respect, and loyalty. As Dale Carnegie said, you can make more friends in 2 months by being genuinely interested in others than in 2 years of trying to get them to be interested in you. So stop asking, who can help me? And start asking, who can I help? Because sooner or later, the network you want will build itself around you. And it will be these relationships founded on genuine value that unlock financial freedom. And I know this next one might sound counterintuitive, but the more you chase money, the more it runs from you. The people who chase money the hardest scare it away the fastest. Just think about the last time you desperately needed money. Maybe it was rent, an unexpected bill, or a full-blown emergency, and somehow, the more that you needed it, the more opportunities just vanished. Interviews didn't go well. Clients ghosted you. And even simple tasks like replying to emails or updating your resume felt impossible to you. Now, that's not bad luck or coincidence, that's your brain working against you. When you're really in need of money, stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline get released. And these chemicals shut down your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for things like creativity, rational thinking, decision making. And so you're stuck in survival mode and stuck operating from this reptilian brain that we have, which knows fight, flight, or freeze. It's just like this boiling frog scenario. When you drop a frog in boiling water, it jumps out straight away. But if you heat the water slowly, it doesn't even notice it's being cooked alive. Desperation for money works in the exact same way. It builds so slowly and gradually that you don't even realize it's literally killing your ability to think clearly and spot opportunities to build wealth. But contrast that with someone who seems to just stumble their way into making money without even trying, or so it seems. There are billionaires out there who would say their best ideas came to them in the shower, and hugely successful traders who sit tight and wait patiently but end up tripling their initial investment. There's no hustle, there's no stress, there's no desperation, because when you're relaxed and strategically detached from money, your brain switches to what neuroscientists call the default mode network. That's when your subconscious mind is able to make connections between ideas you never even noticed before, spot new patterns, and solve complex problems without effort. So let me ask you this. How much time in your calendar is set aside just for thinking? If you're like most people, it's probably close to 0. You are drowning in work that keeps you busy, like replying to random emails, hopping on and off Zoom calls, finishing big projects, which is all well and good, but the problem is it leaves you no room to actually pause and think. And without any time to let your mind to relax and wonder and stop panicking. You're never gonna reach financial freedom because you'll never spot the opportunities that are often right in front of you the whole time. And so this final rule of strategic detachment is all about stepping back from the chaos and giving yourself permission to create space and gain perspective. Because a free mind is the engine of financial freedom. It's so powerful, and yet it's always overlooked. And as Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Remember how I said it felt like navigating a forest in the dark? Strategic detachment is what lights the path. It's not hustling harder, it's stepping back long enough to see where you're actually going. Most people are hacking away with dull axes and swinging blindly, but in reality, they should be stepping back and sharpening their minds first. And if you really want to reprogram your mind to make millions, then I'd love for you to watch this video next, which is where I explain 3 simple psychological shifts that you probably don't want to hear, but I use each of them to get where I am today. So I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.